When I look at this mess, I can't help but wonder if raising pigs is even worth it. It really doesn't take long for them to take a nice green grassy area and turn it into, well, mud. Then you go from drought to day after day after day after day of rain, and you end up with this. Speaking of rain, here it comes again. Now that the rain's gone and the sun's out, we'll try this again. One of my least favorite things about farrowing compared to just buying and raising feeder pigs is that I can't really leave the boar out all the time. And in the past, farrowing on pasture hasn't really worked for me all that well. So with that being said, I need pens, and whenever the pens get nasty and muddy like this after a little bit of rain, well, I have to move them. So there's added labor in there. The pigs are no longer in here, if you can't tell. They're actually just kind of out roaming around, doing a little exploring right now. Hi everyone, this is Andrew at Plainview Farm. In today's video, we're going to separate our pigs out here, at least our new litter of piglets, from the sow and the boar hog. As you can see, I've already got all the panels taken down. We just need to get them to the new spot, get them set up into place, and play musical pigs, I guess you'd say. Curly Sue and her babies have found a nice little spot over here at the back side of the barn. Those pigs aren't going anywhere. And our boar hog, old Dan the man, has found his way into our field peas, barley, wheat, oats that we planted, a little while back. So what we're going to be doing here today is setting up primarily a weaning pen for those piglets. It's time to get them weaned and get them ready to move, at least those that are going to be going to new homes. And we also need to get Curly Sue in a spot where she can basically have all the feed that she wants to get herself back into shape to bring on the next litter. So I picked a nice shady spot here, and I'm gonna pull my panels where I want them, kind of get them laid out first. Then we will drive in our posts, set our panels all up into place, wire everything together, and then start getting pigs where we want them to be. Excuse me, Charles. I picked this shady spot right here because in the hottest part of the day, there's plenty of shade. And with pigs, they've got to have shade. They've got to have some sort of protection from the sun because they get hot. And if they do not have a wallow, they'll overheat. So again, we got to make sure that they've got shade, they've got, a nice place to stay cool, because pigs do not sweat, contrary to, certain sayings like sweating like a pig. All right, Charles, buddy, I'm sorry. So the way I do this to keep it simple is to start just by setting some T-posts at the edges of my first panel. That way, like I said, I get an idea about where this is going to be. There. That'll get our first panel in place. So once again, the question was, is messing with all these pigs actually worth the trouble? And yeah, I think that it is. Number one, I actually like pigs. They're really interesting creatures. They're a lot of fun to mess around with, and of course I love bacon. I love pork chops, all the good stuff, ham that comes with pigs. But I don't know, there's just something about them that I like. I like being around pigs. I like raising pigs. I like watching all the little piglets run around and do little piglet things. And even though I have to buy a lot of feed and put a lot of labor into caring for these animals, they'll do some work for me. I mentioned old Dan the man over there in our pig pasture that we planted with field peas, barley, oats, and sorghum sudan grass. That's what the other thing was. I can never seem to remember. Anyway, our pig pasture over there, I didn't plow that field. The pigs rooted it all up last fall, and I ran the cultivator through it with the tractor and then broadcast those seeds out, and that's how I planted that. So the pigs, they actually did the plow work for me back in the fall. So I guess you could say that that's one way that pigs help justify their place on the farm. And let's be honest, good help can be hard to get. So for information's sake, what I'm doing right here is I'm going to wire this panel in to this post separately, and then leave this one here where I can open it up almost like a gate, so I can come around either with a truck or a trailer, and it'll give me easier access right here. I'm also going to put one post in the center of each one of these panels so that it'll give me a little bit extra security, I guess, in the event that they try to revolt and hatch some sort of escape plan. Okay, so I've got two pins here. One over here with actual hog panels that have the narrow gaps between them for the piglets, and then this one over here on my left side. This one's going to be what Curly Sue hangs out in, at least for the time being. We're just going to let old Dan kind of enjoy himself. He's not big enough to wipe out our whole crop over there, so we're just going to leave him alone for a few days and let him enjoy himself. But everybody is starting to stir around now, so this would be a good time to try to get everybody where they belong. So I'll come back to what I was talking about in just a minute. Come on, baby. Come on. All right, so we got Curly Sue in the pen. Now we're gonna see if we can get the piglets to follow. A couple of them have figured it out. Come on, piggies. There we go. I think we got all but 3 where they're supposed to go. Which I don't think is too bad. So in order to get the rest of the group where we want them to go, we're going to open this up right here. Excuse me, Mama. Good job, Curly Sue. Whew, okay, finally got them all where they're supposed to go. All right, I had to go change my shirt and rinse the pollen out of my eyes. I'm gonna give our piggies some feed. So spending all my time out here with these pigs in this heat, humidity, tree and grass pollen, I still think it's worth it. And let me explain why. Old Curly Sue over here, to keep her going for a year, it takes about $400 worth of feed. Add another $400 for Dan. That's my breeding pair. And actually $400 is a little bit high for today's feed prices, simply because they're cheaper, and I'm just rounding up for the simplicity or the sake of simple math here. So I've got $800 in piglets. Now, Curly Sue over here, she's good for about 10 piglets per litter. We can get 2 litters out of her in a year's time. Now, I will say this, there's 11 right here, but a couple of these she did adopt. For the sake of, again, simplicity, we'll say 10 pigs per litter. That's a good number. That's what a good pig should produce. Ballpark. You can add or subtract a little bit here or there. Anyway, so 10 pigs per litter. She gives me 2 litters per year. That's 20 piglets. I have $800 in 20 piglets. So $800 divided by 20 gets me to $40 a pig. That's how much I have in these piglets right here. I've got $40 per piglet right there. So now I can do a couple different things, or a few different things here. I can either sell these piglets for $80 or $100 a piece and make $80 to $60 a head off of these piglets. The feeder piglets that I do sell, I am going to sell for $100 a piece, and that'll give me $60 profit per pig. 10 of them at $60 profit, it's $600. We do that twice a year, right? 20 piglets, $40 a head, or $60 a head. That's $1,200 a year that I make raising feeder pigs off of 1 sow and 1 boar. Now, honestly, if you think about it, how many animals on the farm can produce out of a single pair $1,200? You know, there aren't very many in a single year. You know, whenever cattle prices are really high, and they're really high right now, you can do pretty well with cattle. But these prices on pigs tend to stay fairly consistent. As the price of feed goes up, well, the price of a piglet goes up as well. That's just basic economics. So then, what if, let's say, instead of selling feeder piglets, you want to feed these pigs out and sell them as butcher hogs. I do that as well. There's a group of butcher hogs right over there. All that banging and clanging that you hear, that's the big self-feeder that they are going after right now. So if we get those butcher hogs to 250 pounds and we sell them at $1.50 per pound delivered to the processor for the customer, that's $375 per pig. Okay, average 250 pounds, right? That's $375 per pig. Well, how much does it cost to get those pigs to 250 pounds? So an average of $375 for one of these hogs. Well, how much does it cost to get one of these hogs to $375? I'll come away from here so maybe the noise won't be so bad. Again, for the sake of simplicity, we'll try to use round numbers here. So let's say we need to put 200 pounds on a pig in order to get it 250 pounds, right? Our feeder piglets, they're gonna wean out at 50 pounds. So, right, we need 200 pounds of gain. Well, a commercial hog will gain a pound of weight for about every 3.5 pounds of feed. Let's say that, well, these pigs, because they are a crossbreed of heritage hogs, okay, they're not gonna do as well. Let's say that they're gonna take 4 pounds of feed in order to gain 1 pound. So 200 pounds of gain is gonna require 800 pounds of feed. Hopefully you're following me on the math here. Looks like Dan's finished off his feed bowl. Now he's looking for an extra bite. Hey, go on, go on. I'm making a video. This is old Dan, my large black boar hog. Old Dan's a pretty good pig. Aren't you, buddy? Aren't you, buddy? 200 pounds of gain at 4 pounds of feed is 800 pounds of feed. So if the price of feed is $16 a hundred or 16 cents a pound, that would be $128 per pig in feed to get them up to butcher weight. So we'll say, for the sake of simple math, once again, we'll say $130 in feed to get us to a pig that we can sell for $375. If we add in the original $40 cost to get our feeder pig, we are at $170. Okay, so again, I said that one of those hogs out there is gonna sell for $375 delivered to the processor. Okay, so 375 minus 170 is $205, right? So we're at $205 in gross profit per pig. Multiply that by 20 and what do you get? You get about $4,000, okay? So one sow and one boar hog can potentially now, instead of $1,200, can produce $4,000. That's not bad. So let's say instead of selling a butcher hog delivered to the processor or a feeder pig, I want to sell meat by the cut. Well, I'd have to take the pig to a USDA inspected or at least a state inspected facility that would allow me to sell cuts of meat. So I'll have to add processing fees in to the cost of the $170 price that it takes me to get a butcher hog ready to go to the processor. Now I'll tell you this, USDA inspection in my location is actually pretty cheap compared to other parts of the country. I can have one of these hogs processed for around $200, $250 and get about 140 pounds of retail cuts ready to go. Okay, so if you add $140, please don't kick me, donkey. If you add the $140 it took us to get to 250 pounds to the 250 processing fees at a USDA facility, you end up with $420 in 140 pounds of retail cuts of pork. So I'll pull out the old calculator here because the simple math has now gotten beyond me. So $420 divided by 140 pounds of meat Our cost is $3 a pound for 140 pounds of pork. Okay, so now naturally there are cuts that are going to be more expensive and there are cuts that are going to be cheaper. But I'll tell you this, the average price of pork that you'll find at a farmer's market is going to be substantially more than $3 a pound. I'm talking in my area, it's going to be in the $6, $8, $12 a pound range. So we're talking about a potential profit on one hog. Okay, again, one hog, we're talking about a potential profit between $400 and $1,000. So let's stay at the bottom, right? Let's say we sold every one of these hogs for $6 a pound, retail cuts, okay? 20 pigs times $400 in profit. That's $8,000, again, out of one sow in one boar. $8,000 in gross profit. Of course, we're not including anything for our time, for our water, for the cost to haul them to the processor, right? To sit at the farmer's market or meet people, whatever it is that you decide to do in order to sell your pork. Okay, so that's potentially the high point of a single breeding pair operation, right? One sow, one boar. Again, we're talking $8,000 of potential gross profit here in these pigs. Now, I'll tell you this, I'll be honest with you, I can't do that, right? I can't do that. And it sure sounds nice, and maybe someday I'll get there, okay? But it's all about developing your market and growing to the point that you can actually sell that kind of product. Again, I can't sell 20 pigs worth of retail cuts in 1 year. I just can't do it. So what do? Well, I do a combination. I have piglets that I will sell as feeder piglets, take my $60 a head in profit, and basically finance the next litter of pigs. I'll also keep a handful to raise that I'll deliver to the processor in order to make $200 a head in profit. Again, there's extra labor involved, yeah. And then there's a couple out of the group that I'll have processed as inspected so that I can sell individual cuts. And I'll take that additional profit. And I'll kind of put it all in one pot all together. The pig operation is kind of grabbing from different places. You don't have to put everything in one spot. I did a video here recently where I talked about putting all your eggs in one basket, how it's not wise to try to put all your eggs in one basket, as the old saying goes. Well, with these pigs, I'm not putting all my pork in one basket. I'm using different avenues, different markets to try to make a profit in each one, to try to maximize what I have available to me. So even though all of this mess is made, I have to come out here and fight off grass and tree pollen, sneezing fits, I have to go rinse my face off, change my shirt, wade around in the mud, come out in the wintertime in the ice and the snow, do all the things that are unpleasant. It's all worth it. And the profit isn't the only reason. As I mentioned before, I do it because I like the pigs. Farming is a lifestyle. It's something you do because you enjoy it, in spite of all the things that make it undesirable. Right? It's okay to not like certain things. But ultimately, the benefits outweigh the negatives, right? So I raise my pigs in what you might call a more traditional way. They're outside. They get to root around in the dirt, roll around in the grass, eat the grass, breathe the fresh air, lay around in the sunshine, all those kinds of things. While farm business is important, it's not the only thing. I do what I do because of the lifestyle, because of the tradition. Whenever I was a kid, it seemed like there were a lot of people in this area especially that raised pigs. Every family seemed to have pigs. That's not the case anymore. Now, it's hard to find anybody that raises pigs. When I was a kid, these kinds of pig farms, they dried up. The shift was made to large hog barns where pigs were bred for efficiency, how fast they could grow, how quickly they could convert a pound of feed into meat. And whenever that happened, I think something was lost. And I'm not the only one doing it, by all means. There are several of us out there. But I'm trying to bring that back. I'm trying to bring back the connection between the farmer and the animal and the customer. And that's something to think about. If you're out there and you're trying to start a farm, you're trying to grow a farm, think about the importance between what you do, how you raise your animals, and how that affects the people that you're selling those animals or selling those products to. There's something special about what you're doing, what you're growing. That the time, the effort, the energy, the expense, all of those things that go into it, that they are worth it. Because of the quality in the end, what you end up with in the final form, the final product. You have something is far superior because of the way that it was done. Thanks for listening to my 2 cents, I guess. If you found this video to be helpful, please do me a favor and hit that like button so other folks can find it. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to our channel. As always, I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.